Why are we starting here? Oh no, this is the first. Okay, hold on. We've got to switch things up right here. This is the first Nintendo E3 that is presented. Well, I'm not. I only speak and read English. I'm not courageous enough to go to any non-monoglot English country yet. So, yeah. So we have our first Nintendo E3 presentation offered in widescreen. So, yeah, it's the first. 2008's the first widescreen one because we want to see the cringe in full widescreen glory for E3 this year, right? Yeah, so I am going to miss the bigger, having to have me and the game be so much bigger on screen, but we want to catch the full glory. And so what this is, I think, I want to say something that doesn't get talked about a lot, and I saw this myself on G4 as this was happening. On, like, G4 and a lot of IGN video interviews with Nintendo people, and with Reggie and with Iwata, there are a lot of mainstream gaming media asking Nintendo at E3 2007, what happened to Wii Music? What happened to the Wii Music demo from last year? Like, are they still working on that? Is it canceled? And so Nintendo, they misinterpreted that and thought that there was this massive mainstream interest in Wii Music, and they decided to make the reveal of Wii Music be the crux of their E3 presentation this year. We're also going to get the introduction of Cammy Dunaway. I would go the Nintendo Park in Japan looks cool, but like if I was in Japan, there's so many things I'd do first that most people, even among sort of the nerdy crowd-ish, the nerdy tech sort of scene, would probably be considered relatively boring. Just like how when I went to England, did I go to London? Did I go to Cardiff? No, I went to freaking East Grinstead, all right? I don't know if I told you, Gush on Games. I cannot, like, the travel agents in the US were like, what? Like, we can't help you. There's no packages. No one wants to go to East Grinstead. No, everyone wants to fly into Heathrow, not Gatwick. It's like someone from London, oh yeah, I want to go to, like, Uncasville, like, Maryland, it's like the most random, like, what the heck, who wants to go there, what is there, because I wanted to see, no, I don't want to go to London, I don't want to see Piccadilly Circus, I want to go ride slow old trains with no air conditioning. That's probably the same thing. I don't want to go to Akihabara, I want to see some shrines and museums and stuff, you know what I mean? So, that's probably the approach I would take with going to Japan as well. Some of the parts of the Universal Studios in... Oh my gosh! Hold on. That was anyone I know in that footage? Hold on. Well, that's footage from last year's E3. They also... Okay, this I could... Yeah, that was, I think, from the Nintendo World Store. That footage right there. This is the first time... I watched this when it happened live on G4. And then I watched it with Pete once a few years ago. He did a full replay of this. And one thing I admire about Pete Dorr is, like, when he does, like, this year's E3 for Nintendo or Konami 2010, people are like, oh, just watch a highlight reel, Like, no, we're not just watching a highlight reel of the cringe moments. We are watching...
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome...
So this is a bigger E3. We're back in the Kodak Theater and this massive auditorium again. So E3 is a little bigger. Oh yeah, no, it's like you don't have to worry. Yeah, as long as it's not anything that's against my little rule list thing, you don't have to worry about it being strictly video game related. Like, when I started talking about the word processing devices I use, you know what I mean? That's not Nintendo related.
Cammy Dunaway.
You know, so... Oh yeah, you have the introduction of Cammy Dunaway here. She was in E3 2008, 9, and 10, No, 2008 and 9. 2010, she did not appear on stage. This is the introduction of Cammie Dunaway to the public, and she has a stage, she's like, she's just the quintessential soccer mom, which is why they chose her for this. She doesn't have a great, she presents like she's presenting to kindergartners. And that's great when you're presenting to kindergartners, but you're presenting to, 16 to 30-year-old gamers. Mostly male. And I know since she's left, within the last couple of years, she's actually spoken about this, and she thinks it was mostly sexism. I will concede that there is a sexist element to some of the backlash against her, but it is not just sexism. It is mostly your presenting style is more suitable for grade schoolers, and the presentation, what you had to present, the way they presented it, did not appeal to this audience. I think it's that way more so than sexism.
Good morning. Well, as you can see, my name is not Reggie. But these days, I do have a lot
This is
in
the
common
first time
with
I've
my
watched
boss.
this in its entirety
We're both having
without
a lot
Pete
of
having...
fun.
I watched it once with Pete Dorr
how
here on
can
Twitch.
you not be happy when your job every day is to get up and think about video games? In fact, just like the people you saw in the opening video, I can't stop smiling. Now, of course, as a mom, it helps to be at a company like Nintendo.
All right.
As my son Davis said in my Mother's Day card this year, Mom, I love you more than anything. And not
The infamous
just because
Mother's
you bring
Day
me
card
all the
here.
video games. Now, how could that not put a smile on my face? I can also testify that playing video games is probably a safer way to impress your kids.
Oh, we get to
than
hear
some
about her
other things.
snowboarding injury now.
Now, for example, here I am at Whistler this winter trying out snowboarding. And I thought that made me a really cool mom. At least until the last run of the day, when through some absolutely freak occurrence, certainly nothing to do with my lack of coordination, the fates pushed me right off my board, and I landed with full body weight right on my left wrist.
Oh,
Short
they
story,
actually had a picture
round
of the
one,
moment she broke her
my
wrist. I forget.
Lost. And I can tell you,
Hold on.
it is one long ride down the mountain when you're being pulled by the ski patrol.
Hold on. I want to see that again.
With full body weight right on my left wrist. Short story, the ground won, my
Okay, something about the lighting on that made it look like... Okay.
wrist lost. And I can tell you,
Okay,
it is
the
one
injury isn't
long
visible.
ride down the mountain when you're being pulled by the ski patrol. What I discovered that day is that snowboarding is really a lot harder than it looks. But the fact is,
And the thing is,
I
like,
don't like a smile taken off my face for anything.
she's presenting
And I
fine,
also
but it's
really
she's
don't
doing a
like
great
it
presentation for
So,
like
I
for like
decided
10 and
that as
unders.
a snowboarder, all I really
Like
needed
you could argue, I
little
think
help
you could
with
argue that
that.
she's, oh yeah, by the way,
Really
yeah, 2007, that's the first E3 without George Harrison on
I'm smiling
stage
again
that we've
today
watched today.
because I think
I don't know
I've
if George
found
Harrison had left the
the
company at
perfect
this point or not.
answer.
Oh, why is that? Oh yeah, here's this is the first time I've heard of Shaun White. I'm like, who is this? Like, is this like Carrot Top's nephew? Like, who am I looking at here? And he's appeared on E3 a couple of other E3 presentations over the years, and every time, like that presentation does not go particularly great, and not due to any specific fault of him, but it's just like Shaun White, like, is all you do like ruin E3 conferences. Like, I have no idea. I'm not saying this seriously. I have no idea if he's like some kind of weirdo like Ezra Miller, where
Ladies
like
and gentlemen, please
he has
help me in
issues.
welcoming the gold medalist in the men's half pipe at the 2006 Torino Olympics.
I want to turn
Mr.
down.
Shaun White.
There we go.
How are you?
Oh,
No.
Shaun, it looked like you were having a blast.
Yeah, I
Sorry about
remember.
that.
All right, that's much
I
better.
know. warming up.
If you can hear them good,
I
that's
understand
fine.
from the guys at UB that they developed this game from the ground up.
I'm gonna turn this
in
up a
order to
little
take
louder.
advantage Of the new balance board.
If you need me to turn the volume up or down, let me
You
know.
know, once we put the board involved, it just enhances the gameplay. I mean, for me, it's so unbelievable because when I'm actually on my snowboard, I lean forward to go faster.
Yeah.
And just like on the game, you go faster when you tuck and all your spins, and it's really cool.
Oh, it looks great.
Yeah.
Now,
And this
what are
guy
the
also
plans
does
for the
BMX, if I
team
remember
to
correctly.
Really capture snowboarding.
I mean, a lot of the stuff for me was just kind of describing what it's like for me. Because when I'm up in the air, I see a totally different view than everybody else gets to see. So I had that input and just, I don't know, just overall how the mountain should look, and it was really fun.
Well, I've also been told that pretty much anybody can just jump on the board.
Yeah, like
and
I don't
go.
think.
I don't know if you
No,
heard
what
my
I just
opening, but
I just made fun of him a bit. I just want to make clear, like I don't dislike him
All
personally.
right. I mean, how many times in my life?
Why is they changed microphones on stage because they're louder now?
Okay, let's see. Let's get my board going here.
Okay, so he does so he's just like an extreme sports, you know, extreme
What event
sports,
should we try?
you know, like jack of all trades. He does with snowboarding, he does BMX and skateboarding.
Oh, you are me right now.
Okay. Oh, I'm you. Okay, I'll try to do so.
Alright, there you go. That's a method.
I'm gonna turn down the volume
So, I mean, just the view.
a little bit. I don't know if this is licensed music. It probably is. I mean, we're just hearing a bunch of typical banter right now.
I should get some lessons from you.
So like what? Between is how many how many I'm sure he plays video games like casually on his own. You know, just as a past casual thing he does from time to time, but you know, like so how many so he does like so BMX BMX, snowboarding, and skateboarding. Those are all X Games sports, aren't there? Like, how many? All right, so we get.
I didn't hurt my wrist. Well, Sean, thank you so much. It was great
Thanks
fun.
for
Really
having me.
appreciate you being
For sure.
here.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Now, all of you can have as much fun as I just had, making your own runs down when this game arrives.
Man, this
exclusively
audio is
for
not that
Wii
great.
By year end.
Okay.
Now, if everyone would please welcome me in joining Nintendo's global president, Mr. Satoru Iwata.
Aw. No, that's a cool. What a cool picture of. He knows. He's so. Okay, let's switch to his me. But like Iwata knows, like this is the coolest picture of me I have. We're using that picture. We're using that picture right there. Oh my god! You know what? I just remembered something really sad. I just remember when Mr. Iwata was like obviously like perilously ill. He did like a press conference and he showed his me. And he's like, "Oh, look, I updated my me to reflect all the weight that I've lost." And he like was spinning it like he was working out and lost weight. And no, he lost weight because he was perilously ill and fighting for his life. And seeing like the big version of his me at this point reminded me of that. And that is Yeah, this conference this press show didn't go well for them, but the presentation was fine. Like the technical aspects of it.
I think everyone recognizes
Mr. Iwata is always so quiet I have to turn the video up again.
A true paradigm shift has taken place in the global game market. 5 years ago, in May 2003, I addressed E3 for the first time as the president of Nintendo. I still vividly recall that day. Because
We watched
I knew
that. No, it was
almost
2002.
everyone attending
We watched 2003
held a
onwards. Yeah, and it was
pessimistic
really
view
sad what
about
happened.
Nintendo's future. That period was not enjoyable, but I knew that people were just using what seems to be a common sense view of the video game market. I must admit that even Nintendo employees could not have imagined that 5 years later. The market would have responded so quickly that we could be selling millions of bathroom scales around the world.
I want to get that royal. Oh no, the card's all reset. I was one card away from getting the royal flush.
Doesn't seem to make as much sense anymore. And I believe
And that's game
that's
over.
what happened in video games. Today, I'd like to spend a few minutes to discuss what has really changed in this new paradigm. First, we are now selling games which can sell steadily for a long period of time. In the past, it seemed
This is the first time he's really talked about. I think you might have talked about this, but not at any E3 events.
Or 3 years. But titles like Nintendo's and Brain Age are doing just that. Also, New Super Mario Bros. And Mario Kart DS. To use a Western term, these products seems to be evergreens. This, I think, is a really big change. Second, I believe it is no longer common sense that players only seek new titles with more gorgeous-looking graphics and more sophisticated content. Of course, I mean,
sophisticated, obviously, just in terms of complexity, not necessarily like the
game players around the
artistic value of the
do
game.
demand increasingly gorgeous games. And we at Nintendo continue to challenge ourselves.
I mean, here I am playing this 36-year-old pinball game that Mr. Iwata made himself.
Our internal team, which creates Mario games, and the one that make Zelda games, are both hard at work. They will bring new titles to Wii.
Yeah, they're working on New Super Mario Bros. Wii and Mario Galaxy 2 and Skyward Sword at this point.
Games with new concepts like Wii Sports and Wii Fit have received support from many customers for entirely different reasons. Small teams with small budgets can capture a worldwide audience if they have a great idea. And this is both the challenge and the opportunity of WiiWare.
Oh yeah, this WiiWare is actually like a thing at this point.
Certainly, the user base has expanded. Take a look at this picture. Or what about this one?
That's something I saw at my father's salon.
Our common sense view of the video game market was too limited. Now we have learned that intuitive interface can help attract those who never considered video games before. And audience expansion brings a related effect. It has changed the seasonal nature of video game hardware sales. Game systems used to be purchased more often as a gift item during the holidays. Today, game hardware systems are more likely purchased by people for themselves at any time of the year. Recently in Europe, consumers are buying more than 200,000 Nintendo DS units a week, as if every week were a holiday week. Here in America,
Royal flush, here we come. Ace, King.
An average of 700,000 Wii systems over the last 3 months, a level typically not seen outside of November and December.
Yeah, GameCube was the last one that my parents got for me. That was Christmas 2001.
We are seeing a new
And it was,
form
the whole
of
story
social
was,
interaction.
magical. And after that point, I was, getting my
Last
teenage years, had
I
some of
said
my own
that
money,
we
took care of
like
myself
to
for those things for the
destroy
most part. But
psychological
yeah,
barrier
GameCube was that,
exists
and I wasn't even
between
expecting it at that
gamers
point. I really
and
just got a
non-gamers.
Super Nintendo instead, and I was like, I'll just stick with Super
We
Nintendo.
spoke and we played,
Which wasn't
so
that long
this
out of date
was
at that time. It was
possible.
only a decade old,
But
Super Nintendo
alone,
at that point.
they were not enough to prove general trend. Mario Kart Wii and Wii Fit created more of these conversations. But maybe the strongest evidence comes with Guitar Hero 3.
That's nice,
While
actually,
it
going
is
for a third-party
available
game.
on many platforms, the Wii version is outselling all others. At Nintendo,
Excuse me.
we believe there is progress being made in destroying the psychological barrier. But now, with a new paradigm,
All right.
what can we
me.
expect next?
There we go.
Even if it is revolutionary, sooner or later, people will become tired of a new form of entertainment. This happens faster when others try to reproduce the initial change. Then, what seemed fresh?
Hey, we got
inevitably
Royal
will
Flush,
be
by the
lost.
way. Oh no, and I immediately got out.
For all
Doggone.
of us in the video game industry, there is danger in standing still. Common sense is not enough, but there are answers. Personally, I believe we must find more ways for players to feel engaged, different ways for them to be enriched, even with interactions we would not call games. And most of all,
And
the overall experience from our products must be increased enthusiasm. Unfortunately, all this is much easier to say than do. So, let me conclude by saying that we at Nintendo always challenge ourselves to
no,
be
okay, we
pioneers
lost the ball.
in forming new paradigms. We seek fresh surprises, and I hope you will enjoy the ones we have for you today. The first one fits with a larger social trend we all see, with consumers acting as creators and then sharing their work. Certainly, we are not the only ones to think along these lines. But we believe Nintendo can add something different, engage players in new ways. So, thank you for your attention this morning, and please take a moment to consider how Mr. Katsuya Eguchi is bringing creativity and community together.
Oh, okay.
in a
I know what
key
this. Okay,
oriented
this is Animal
ways.
Crossing.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
I became
Now-
a game designer because ever since I was a child, I loved playing
Now,
video
at the
games.
time, Animal
As
Crossing
far as how I came up
at
with
this
the idea,
point
I
is
loved
not
it.
what it is now.
What I
This
thought
was
creative
this was
where
not
the players
well
could
received. This is like Nintendo. Why are you shoving more casual crap like this at us instead of hardcore games? Now, like this is Nintendo fans saying this. Now, Animal Crossing is really taken as seriously as a lot of the other franchises. But at the time, this was not received with welcome arms. This is like, this is the beginning of this being seen as a bad conference by the hardcore Nintendo fans, a lot of them at the time, actually.
There are no required goals, and the players are free to do things their own way. I think the players really feel like the world is happening in real time. Even when you are not playing the game, the animals in the world of Animal Crossing get up in the morning and then go to bed at night. So you could really feel like you were visiting a realistic world with a 24-hour clock year-round.
Yeah, I don't feel like it wasn't until the 3DS one that this game really, really blew up, in my opinion.
The city,
Or at least from my point of view. And I have not played any of these games because I know these are exactly the sort of games that I would have a tendency to get fixated on in a way that would tempt me to play at irresponsible levels of frequency and for irresponsible durations. So I just don't touch it. And I feel like I've lost nothing from my life for doing so.
You can visit the famous fashion designer, Gracie, at her store.
This is getting you into an... You never played it until 3DS?
Harriet's Beauty Salon, where you can change your hairstyle, or even choose to put on a mask and look like you're me. Of course, the key to Animal Crossing is communication, and there are some exciting advances. For one thing,
no, the Switch one I heard was absolutely amazing.
And attach pictures to them. You can send them not just to other towns, but to the Wii message board, or to friends' cell phones and personal computers. But the biggest news is a
the N64 and GameCube Animal Crossings were the only ones that had the NES games built into them. Because once they were actually selling those games via the Virtual Console, you didn't want to give them away for free in Animal Crossing anymore.
Anywhere in the world.
Oh yeah, the Wii Speak. I forgot about this.
For today's main event, we are having a fishing contest.
You guys are in major trouble.
You can catch different fish depending on the season.
Man, I'm out of practice.
I didn't know you were practicing.
The GameCube one had the best villagers.
This is terrible.
I wouldn't know offhand.
Waiting for it to bite. Waiting. Got it.
Oh, that one's mine.
You can really get a sense.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't. I have no dislike for this, but I really couldn't wait for the next game to get going at this point. And watching this live on television.
Or if it is neat or messy.
Some of them were actually buttholes, and now they're all like really nice and fruity and cheerful.
Because it tells you what kind of person they are, and I think that's really fun. It makes me happy to hear stories of people who are able to talk with their friends, or even able to make new ones. Looking ahead, I want players to continue to be able to have the freedom.
Was this the first Animal Crossing game that started that extreme perspective thing with the rotating aspect? Hey, James, 2113. This is E3 2008. We've been at this for 7 hours and 45 minutes. We started from E3 2003, and we're all the way to E3 2008. So we're all the way from Nintendo being on the bottom of the world with the GameCube to the point where people are expecting them to leave the game industry, to 2008 where they're on top of the world and they're so confident that they made some missteps this time around. Now, if you like this kind of stuff, I'll be around tomorrow from 2 o'clock doing E3 2009 through E3 2014. But in general, I'm a retro variety streamer, but I also do some modern stuff, especially platformers and the like.
This year, complete with the Wii Speak option.
Now, I want to turn the volume up a little bit. Oh, thank you, James, 2113.
We're even more pleased with our marketplace momentum.
I'm going to drop a credit for my artist there, drew my drawer worm for
in
me.
May, according to the
here are just a few of the games I've been playing lately. Pokemon, trading card games I've been playing on stream lately.
10 million systems.
Then we've got Dr. Mario Puzzle League. I only play the Puzzle League part. Alleyway for Game Boy. I unironically love this game. Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. All versions of Puzzle League or Panel de Pon are favorites of mine.
$5 billion at retail.
I played those cartridges using my Analog Pocket that I'm fortunate to own because I got one before it became this craze. I didn't realize I was getting ahead of this huge craze.
That's because there are still tens of millions of people.
If you want to take a look at some of the stuff, streams I've done,
ready to get into the
you
game.
Look over on my
love.
YouTube and take a look at some of the stuff I've done in the past.
At the same
I'm going to be
time,
streaming some 8-bit Sonic stuff. I'm taking a week off because I'll be doing some business-related stuff.
What's next?
I barely listen to
At
Reggie at all.
Nintendo,
I don't. Not that's a
we
bad
want to
thing.
fill both those needs.
He's a little loud. I'm going to turn
Let
it down
me
a little
begin
bit.
with a little marketplace perspective, and I promise I'll keep this short. Here are lifetime global hardware unit sales for the last iteration of each major platform.
This might be the last
biggest bar
E3 where they
belongs
do
to
on-screen
Nintendo DS.
graphs and numbers like this.
By the end of our current fiscal year, next March,
This
we
might be
expect
the
that
last.
total DS worldwide sales will grow to almost
Oh, and I'm playing
100
pinball
million
here
systems.
on the Nintendo Switch versus pinball
Focusing
specifically.
on DS here in America, annual sales.
I'm
have
not even going
ramped
for high
up
scores. I'm just
each
doing this
year.
as a
Now,
something to do while I'm watching, so I'm
some
not just
people
standing there. I just
still
like doing this
cling
while
to
I do my
previous
watch party stuff.
expectations for product cycles, and consequently thought that 2007 would be the peak year for DS. However, it still represents better than 2 out of every 3 handhelds
Oh, and here's
sold in America.
where I'm getting my videos from.
And so far, in 2008,
2000
DS
E3
sales
2003
here
through
in the US are running another
2005, I
12%
actually, or my
ahead
own videos.
of last year's record.
Do I prefer 3DS or DS?
Hardware sales are always driven.
That's a
by key
fierce question,
software
Gush on
franchises.
Games. I haven't thought too much.
And this spring,
At
that
the
key
time they were out, I
franchise
both
is
treasured them
Pokemon.
so dearly.
Sales of the companion Mystery Dungeon series
My is that
sold through more
gone
than
fuzzy
6
in my microphone or on
copies
the
in
audio
just 6
for the
weeks.
video?
This grows lifetime total sales for all Pokemon titles to 180 million. The arrival of games like Pokemon
I'm standing by
Mystery
waiting for
Dungeon
the response,
and
so-
Mario and Sonic at the Olympic
Hold on.
Games have pushed total
And replug the mic. I'm gonna hold on a second. I'm just gonna. Testing, testing, testing. Hello, hello, hello. We're good now. We're good now. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, it's amazing that in 7 hours and 50 minutes, that's the first time that's happened.
DS software sales in America.
Hold on, we're getting echo.
29%
There we go.
ahead of last year. Now,
Yeah, thanks everybody. If
later
anything
this
goes
week,
wrong with the audio,
we
let me know. I
believe
can
the
so I
June
can start fixing it
NPD
right away.
data
Don't
may
think you're
show
being
that
polite
the
by not saying anything. No, I want you all to
battle
actually be
between
able to
Wii and DS
hear
as
what's going
America's
on.
best-selling game system may have shifted for the moment back to DS.
All right. There we
In
go.
no small part, it's due to those evergreen titles Mr. Iwata mentioned.
Yeah, one thing you'll
We
notice,
began running a
it seems to be the
TV
standard practice
in
within
May
Nintendo
targeting
that
females,
people from
featuring
NCL,
celebrity
Nintendo, you know, Corporation Limited in
Within
Japan,
weeks,
are
unit
called
sales for
Mr. like
titles
Mr. Miyamoto,
like the
Mr.
Brain Age
Iwata,
games,
whereas people from
Nintendo,
NOA
Super
are
Mario
just
Brothers
they
at
go by
least
first name
double.
basis. It's an interesting sort of
To
superiority.
repeat, there
sort of
seems to be an
hierarchy thing I've
unlimited
noticed over the
number of
years.
People out there just looking for a way to get into our game. For Wii, the sales trajectory is climbing even steeper. This chart shows comparative system sales.
Yeah, if you like my commentary
blue
and my
bars
coverage, I
represent
would
the
encourage you
first
once the
12
stream's
months
over,
in the
you go
market.
back and look at the rest of the VOD.
And
I'll
the
eventually
yellow
put it up on
bars
YouTube.
represent sales from year 1 through month 19. It's here.
Yeah, and
beyond
if
the
I
realm
need
of
to
the
turn the
early
volume of the
adopters,
video up or down,
where
let me
Wii
know.
demonstrates how its historic sales pace is actually increasing. When those June NPD numbers are released on Thursday, we will not be surprised if.
And
Wii
mind you,
becomes
NPD,
the
just for
best-selling
clarification, that is not
console
Nintendo.
in
That's
this
third-party,
generation in America.
market watchers.
just as it already
I know, like,
has
the
on
N
a
would make
worldwide
people
basis.
think that it's like a Nintendo thing. No, it's
Now,
coincidental.
You all know about the popularity.
Are you
of
looking forward to
Wii
tomorrow, too?
hardware. But perhaps
Oh, well,
not
well,
as
thank
widely
you.
appreciated is the story for Wii software. It's exactly the same. Again, no system has ever sold more games during its first 19 months of availability. And again, the
Yawn,
sales
yawn.
advantage
Yeah, after this, I'm going straight to
year
bed.
one
I got a lot of stuff to
continues
do early in the
grow.
morning, so I can get ready for a lot of real life stuff
It's
to get out
no
the way, so I can
secret
do the stream
that
for the rest of the day.
Nintendo internally approached game development for Wii on two different fronts. On one hand, we made sure we leveraged our well-known stable of stars early in the generation to satisfy and reassure veteran gamers.
And they did that, but the
At the same
they didn't
time,
follow
we
through with the
also
communication
created
well enough,
new
and
titles,
hardcore gamers, a lot of them
beginning
felt
with Wii
abandoned.
Sports and continuing with Wii Fit that made even confirmed non-gamers stand up and take notice. But now a new dynamic is emerging. Having passed a year and a half in the market, our creative third-party partners are finding success with Wii. To date, 19 different third-party games.
I'm not.
on
No,
Wii
that's
have
not in
exceeded
question. The Wii
of
sales were absolutely
400,000
astronomical,
units
and
in
what a lot of
America
people. I remember in 2011 when I was talking about the
And
fact
those
that
titles come
in
from
2011 I was
11
telling people,
different
I was in college at that time, like people
One
saying, "Oh, like the
thing
Wii
about
is
this
is
trend
done.
is that
No
there
one
are
likes Wii
almost
anymore."
as
I'm
many
like,
strategies on how
do you
to
realize the
attack
Wii just had
Wii
its strongest Black Friday
Because there are
ever
different
this year in
developers and
2011?
publishers making
And
those decisions.
they're like, "No, that's impossible." I'm
For
like,
example,
"Yeah, like
you might ask,
the numbers that Wii was pulling in, even in 2011, were so strong that I had people refuse to believe me, say that I was lying and trying to I was just being a Nintendo sycophant and making up numbers. I'm like, no, these are real. These are from verified numbers. I got my Wii the day it came out in North America. I think it was November 21st, 2006.
Core appeal that set new standards for a genre. Well, the correct answer is.
Well, the thing is,
all of
even
the
in
above.
2011,
Wii library continues to grow far faster.
yeah,
than
like Wii
other
was, and
current
that's the
consoles.
incredible thing about
And there'll
Wii's
be
strongest Black
dozens
Friday being
and
2011
dozens of
was
new
that the
titles
fact that,
arriving in the coming months.
you know,
The truth is,
Wii U
there's
was
no
already
way today
announced.
we
It was
can
a
give
lame
you
duck
even
system.
a
Its
quick
successor had already been
glimpse
named.
of everything
It was really
that's
kind of
on
the
its way.
tail end of, I think,
So
was
instead,
Kirby's Return to
we've
Dreamland
chosen to limit
2012?
our preview to just
Was that
3 new
2012? That's
games
I never even
that
played that
take
game, but I'm just
very
trying to think of.
different approaches to the
Yeah, I really
interface
wasn't
options
starving for games at that point. I
available
was more
on
than
Wii.
thoroughly entertained with DS.
Take
Oh
a
yeah, I
look.
never answered is, do I like 3DS or Wii more? I like them both tremendously at the time they were out. Something about 3DS, the downloadable software, the little things like Rusty's Real Deal Baseball, the Street Pass Me Plaza games. There was something sort of this toy-like property to 3DS that I don't think even like the Nintendo Switch Lite, even Switch Lite, the way that the philosophy of the system is such as that it's made to be a system that multiple people own and use. But something about 3DS, because they know it's more likely to be a system that's someone's personal system just for them. The customization of it felt very personal, and the sheer tiny size of it, there's something unique about that I think was really precious. And I even realized at the time with 3DS, it's not likely that there may be another proper handheld like this again. And that's before they announced the Switch and oh yay, more raving rabbits. These little dumb little rabbits that derailed the Rayman franchise, derailed the 3D Rayman platformer franchise at a time when there was a period of time when the only 3D platformers I could even think of were the 3D Sonic games and the 3D Mario games. There was basically almost nothing else. And 3D Rayman, there were like 3 or 4 concepts for a 3D Rayman 4 that were put out that ended up getting canceled. And they were working on Rayman for Wii as a 3D platformer, and it ended up turning into Raving Rabbids to the point where they got rid of the Rayman branding from the brand. I mean, even today, the fact that the people for years were talking about a crossover between Rayman and Mario, and almost happened, but it's the doggone Rabbids. Now, I know Kingdom Battle is a genuinely good game. I'll never play it. But it's like... Rabbids Kingdom Battle is like if you asked an a wishing genie that like would only answer your wishes in the most literal yet cruel way possible. Like if you were starving in the desert and a genie came and asked for, like, you're hungry and you think of your favorite food. Oh, I want a Maine lobster tail. And the genie responds by making you grow a lobster tail so you have the tail of a lobster as part of your body. And no, I don't want to have a lobster tail on my body. I want to have a plate of food and be served a lobster tail. You know, with some lemon slices and stuff, you know?
As you can see,
that's what it was like. I want a Rayman... I want a Rayman Mario crossover. Okay, we'll make it Raving Rabbids and Mario characters, alright?
But what about the games that travel with you?
Oh, or DS section now.
Portable games take a bigger bite of the total software pie. What's driving this growth are new players. Who are they?
Now, I'm going to pause here. I want to say this. There's going to be a weird moment here. And mind you, this is 2008. iPhone is fresh on the scene. There's not really much of an app store yet, if I remember it properly. I don't even know if Android has really even hit the market yet. So iPhone is at this point, as if I remember correctly, is basically just a touchscreen iPod with a web browser. And yeah, it's iPhone at this point is basically just a touchscreen iPod with a cell phone and a web browser built into it. iPhone is not what it is today with the App Store and everything. So Nintendo's, I think Cammy is going to talk about some concepts for some applications for DS stuff. And then, mind you, this is before DSi. She's going to be talking about some stuff that they were looking into doing with DS that are basically like, is Nintendo looking at DS becoming what smartphones ended up becoming before smartphones as we know them today existed? And it's something they looked into, but by the time they were able to start implementing this stuff, and I think the DSi was a move towards implementing some of these ideas, by the time they were moving into that space, like the App Store came about, and Android and smartphones became what they are today, and there was really no going back at this point.
In 2005, 30% of all DS recipients were female. Now, recipients are defined as those who either bought a DS for themselves or asked for and received one as a gift. By 2006, the percentage of female players jumped to 46%.
People were some hardcore male gamers. I know people nowadays will say like, "Oh, I'm just making this up to make some political stance," but I saw on forums male gamers getting butthurt over these numbers, and it was hilarious to watch.
As well. Activision reports that the current DS version of Guitar Hero on Tour sold 300,000.
And mind you, that game had a special controller that attached into the cartridge slot of the DS. It was a big deal.
In just its first week. And now, and even
that's that's I don't know if you were here when I was talking about my standalone portable word processing devices. But one thing that I do, and I have it in arm's reach, so I'll just pop it out. The one thing I do like about this, like if I had a word processor, like if I could get a tablet with a Bluetooth keyboard, but I never have to update this. This thing is from 2011 or 12, and it's as useful then as it is now. Whereas if I got a tablet and a keyboard, I could do OS updates to keep the device secure, and it's like, oh, if the word processing program on this device I like isn't supported anymore and I have to do an update, now I won't be able to use that program anymore. There's so many things I have to worry about. Because I've seen people get upset that, like, what's the point of using a standalone word processor when you can just use your phone or a tablet? And it's like, yeah, that's a great solution for a lot of people, but I never have to worry about, like, viruses or updates or my apps that I use no longer being supported or my Bluetooth keyboard no longer being supported. It's always going to be useful. And I just eject pop out my SD card.
Find Will Wright's Spore this year.
Oh yeah, Spore. You know what? Spore was one of those things kind of like Zoop, right? Or yeah, Spore was popular, Zoop was popular, but Zoop, I think Viacom owns Zoop. Viacom really wanted Zoop to be the next Tetris-like craze, and I feel like that's what EA was trying to do with Spore. They wanted this to be the next big revolution in gaming, and it never really quite caught on. And as stilted as this gameplay looks on the DS, and this version actually, I know I had friends, in college who had this. They were really positive feedback on this version of Guitar Hero.
Song sharing is a feature that allows me to take my version of Guitar Hero on tour and meet up with a friend or a relative who has a different version of Guitar Hero on tour, like Guitar Hero on Tour Decades, and we can share our songs with each other. The innovation of the guitar grip, really allowed us to bring a tactile experience.
Thank you. We
coupled
saved
with the
Pauline.
touchscreen mechanics of strumming with a pick stylus. But additionally, the DS has the microphone, the dual screen, its portable nature. All of these aspects add to the unique experience that you get on the Nintendo DS.
Spore is this epic journey.
It's kind of funny because I like creatures and monsters and stuff like that. I never even considered playing Spore. I never thought of it in that aspect. I like creature and monster designing and stuff like that. I never played Spore.
One of the things that was important to us when
And
we
the idea of
Nintendo DS was to really hit
sort
on
of
those
like
core
being like the
elements
creator
that are really
being
about
of this
Spore.
little
Player
universe and
creativity
making
and that
these little
sharing.
living
With the
things and
Nintendo
getting them
DS,
from
not only
being
were
like
we able to sort of
microbes
take
and
advantage of the
in a
stylus, so we
puddle
could
of slime
create
somewhere
this
to
interface that's
becoming
so
an
easy and
interplanetary
intuitive that you could just
species
drag parts from
was a
an apart
really
panel over onto your creature and add to
a
it.
really cool
The other thing
idea, and I
about
just never
Spore,
really
that
went ahead
on the
with
PC
it
that
and
we moved
with
over to
playing the
DS
game.
was the ability to share your creations. When you share your creatures with your friends, those creatures
As
not
far
only
as I'm
share
aware,
space,
this
they can
was
also show up in
the
game
first
and
version of
decide to
Spore that
design
was
your own creature. So
like
you kinda
like
get
I
your own
think
little
Spore was
costume
mainly a
and your
PC
friends
game. I don't even know if
copy out in gameplay.
I think
This is
Spore.
really attractive for
There's a PC version. Is it current? Because if it came out on this for this era of Windows, I don't even know if I could play it well on Windows 10 on a modern PC. But wasn't Spore? I remember that being a PC game mainly. I wasn't Spore Creatures like the first console-based version of Spore. I remember it being a PC game mainly, and then that
The next invasion of Pokemon. The highly anticipated Pokemon Rangers Shadows of Almia will offload onto U.S. shores on November the
I never
10th.
played any. I played
To
a
recap,
downloadable
another
demo of this
Guitar
game
Hero
that I got from
coming to DS.
kiosk in Target or
A
something like that.
custom
That's how I
score
played. What
coming
little I
to
played of
DS.
Pokemon Ranger.
And new Pokemon.
I just remember drawing
series.
circles around the Pokemon with
And
like a little
make
spinning
no
top thing.
Mistake. The appeal of DS extends to the core as well. We can announce today
This is a
that
big drop right
custom
here.
version of Grand Theft Auto called Chinatown Wars arrives on DS this winter.
Now, the thing about Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars is I feel sorry for Rockstar because with GBA, they put their full-hearted effort into... Yeah, that particular version they called Sport Creatures was like a pared-down version for DS. But, okay. Chinatown Wars on DS. Like, they put their full effort into making the Grand Theft Auto Advance, and they were really bragging at the time when Grand Theft Auto Advance came out that their map of Liberty City for Grand Theft Auto Advance was bigger than the version on PlayStation 2. Like, they really didn't consider their top-down Grand Theft Autos to be this sort of alternative, lesser version. Actually, that's a better spot to pause on. They didn't consider this a lesser sort of chintzy version of Grand Theft Auto just because it was top-down on Game Boy Advance, and it did not catch on. Then they do this Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars on DS, where you have like the different elements on the touchscreen, like the hot wiring the cars using the touchscreen and the stylus. And they really put their full-hearted effort into Chinatown Wars on DS, and the same audience, for the most part, that made Grand Theft Auto a hit on Xbox and PlayStation, and I saw this with my own eyes on forums, and even in person, talking to people, at GameStop, or on my college campus. Those are the same people that would look at Chinatown Wars on DS and say, like, what is this crap? Like, this crap isn't even a proper video game. Why are they treating this like it's a proper game? And that's why they cannot, Chinatown Wars did not take off the way that Rockstar was hoping. And the thing that really grinds my gears is that 3DS comes out. You could do a fully 3D, free-roaming, polygonal 3D Grand Theft Auto game at that point, because you had the fully 3D Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories games on PSP. 3DS is more powerful than PSP. It can handle a full 3D Grand Theft Auto game, and at that point, Rockstar didn't even try.
Arrives on DS this winter.
It's a shame, and I like Grand Theft Auto 3, but I didn't stick with this series really.
New characters and the
Hangi is saying you're never a fan of the top-down GTA.
GTA fans
I never played the top-down GTAs on PlayStation 1, but I was fascinated by them, and I never got to play them because they just never happened to be at my local Blockbuster in Hollywood Video. But I know, like, the fact that Grand Theft Auto, like GTA, I think had some of the first, like, DLC, like, physical DLC in terms of those expansion discs. What was the last E3 that Nintendo attended? Nintendo attended every single E3. Nintendo attended all of them. Every time there was an in-person E3 event, Nintendo had a booth at every single one. Now, Nintendo stopped doing the stage show at E3 2013 onward. They stopped doing stage shows and did the traditional press conference stage shows. They would have stages at their booth that they would do live shows on, but it wasn't the big stage shows like this. Yeah, 2019 was the last physical E3 and the last one Nintendo was at. But people, like, I remember Iwata making a video at E3 2013, like, people are saying that we're not at E3, but that's not true. And here, I'm taking you on a tour of our booth. They're just not doing the traditional stage show. So yeah, Nintendo, every year Nintendo had a booth at E3. They just did stop doing the stage shows like this.
Partners have been using the DS to redefine the meaning of video game.
Yeah, Nintendo, and even those years, Nintendo, every year there was an in-person E3, Nintendo had a physical booth at E3, and it was often one of the larger or the largest booths. 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Nintendo had a booth every single one of those years. It's just that E3 2012 was the last time they did this style of physical, massive stage show presentation. But after 2013 onwards, their main stage shows, well, they did a Nintendo Direct in 2013. 2014 onwards, they did their digital event as their main sort of thing for the public. That was a pre-recorded event. But Nintendo
applies to the DS itself.
Yeah, that was 2015 they did that.
People, probably like all you guys, who spend way too much time in airports.
And I got to see those. Oh, okay, hold on. I want to remind a bit. So Cammy Dunaway is going to talk about stuff where Nintendo was, with the announcement of DSi not too long after this, Nintendo was kind of preparing to position the DS as a lifestyle device in the way that we use modern smartphones now, when that really wasn't a thing yet. Well, they said E3 was expensive, so that's the reason they stopped doing it. Well, that's the reason they stopped doing the stage shows. But to be clear, Nintendo had a very large physical booth every year at E3 up until they stopped doing the in-person E3 events due to the lockdowns in 2020.
Now also applies to the DS itself.
Now here we go.
Here's what I mean.
This is interesting.
The many people, probably like all you guys, who spend way too much time in airports. And much of that time is already spent on my DS. Currently, I'm playing Animal Crossing. So, what
I'm dual-wielding spinners here, everybody.
and air travel came together in a different way. For example, when I land, Why can't my DS provide information on where I can claim my luggage or the gate for my connecting flight? If I'm staying over, what about the nearest ATM or a Mexican restaurant? This is all being tested. Another example.
Now, all that was being tested, it was never actually rolled out to the public. She's about to show an example that actually was rolled out to the public. And someone fortunately took video of this, because this no longer exists. This is lost gaming software, which she's about to talk about. But someone took a video of it. We'll watch that video at the end of this conference. We have about 20, 30 minutes left, and then we'll close the stream out for tonight. But so she's talking about the stuff we now do with our smartphones before these smartphones were ubiquitous, and before these, there was the iPhone, right? But it was still just a touchscreen iPod with a web browser and a cell phone built into it, is what the iPhone was at this point. There was not the App Store like we have today.
About changing up your next visit to the old ballpark. Well, at Safeco Field in Seattle, fans are already using their DS to check the box scores of other live games.
This happened.
Watch highlights.
They actually
Compete
did this.
on trivia contests with other fans in the park. They're even using the DS touchscreen to order up that Seattle sushi favorite, the Ichi roll. Seriously, they really have that stuff in Seattle.
And a lot of the reason that happened is because at the time Nintendo owned the Seattle Mariners as well as the stadium.
One more idea.
They no longer do that.
Could it
They no
be
longer own that.
that
But
the
at the
DS
time, Nintendo owned the
could
Mariners.
even earn a spot in your kitchen.
Now, this also happened. I know because
In
my
Japan,
mom had this.
Cooking Navi has turned the DS into an electronic cookbook. And the same title will serve up both
Yeah, they owned the
international
Mariners
recipes
until
and
relatively
recipes
recently.
when an English version arrives here in November. The perfect timing
Yeah, they
for people like me
they
looking
brought
for
this
help
out
with
as
their
the
holiday
personal
dinners.
trainer cooking.
Trust me, I'm even worse at cooking than I am at
And my mom had this and used it. She
Now, in
and she
many
also had
ways,
the America's
DS
Test Kitchen
may
game for
be
DS.
transforming itself from a great portable device for gamers into a natural companion for everyone. Reggie?
And Nintendo DSi was announced not too long after this to try to further
Something very
position
familiar.
the DS as
The
this
Nintendo
lifestyle
DS
device outside of
with a
just
fresh
gaming.
set of eyes.
It didn't really catch on, though.
Let me build on that idea, literally. We all know what this is. And as you may have heard, we're about to redefine
Now,
the Wii remote.
the Wii Motion Plus was already announced prior to this.
What this
So this is the
small
first time they're really
accessory does
elaborating on it.
Is make the Wii remote more precise, more responsive, more intense.
And from the moment
It's
they announced
called
this thing, I was like,
Wii
okay, so now
Motion
we're
Plus.
actually getting what we expected from this from the beginning. Oh, and just to say, because I'm a typography nerd, that M in the Wii Motion Plus prototype, this is not how the final logo they used for Wii Motion Plus, but that M there, that is not the actual M that goes along with this font. They just turned the W upside down. The actual M for this font is different. Hangi is saying worst attachment ever? Did it not work? Did yours not work properly? Mine actually worked fine. Oh yeah, the models with the built-in were much better. Now, well, because the models with the built-in Motion Plus sensitivity was what the Wii Remote should have been back in 2006
Wii
to
Motion
begin
Plus
with.
renders every slight shift of your wrist.
But I had never had the built-in
into the
version. I had
gameplay.
the version. I only had the version with I had the external
But as-
dongle for Red
as
Steel 2,
every game player
and for I
knows,
used it with Skyward Sword
technical
as well.
advances can be empty promises without outstanding software. So today, we're going to show you how this worthy successor to the Wii Remote comes to life using a more than worthy successor to Wii Sports. Let me introduce you to Wii Sports Resort, which is
No, because
literally
I know
a day
there's
at
some
the
people
beach.
who said that their Wii Motion
It
Plus
generates
never
fun in
worked,
the
like it was
sun
not
with a variety of
properly
activities.
calibrated at
And
the
we're going to show
factory,
you
and they just had
three
the
of them
worst experience out of
right
it.
now on
Not many
stage.
people, but I've heard. That's what I've heard.
Well, I have Candy
So-
come out here along with Bill Trinan from our treehouse.
Well, it's funny because that Wii Motion Plus
I can
dongle
tell you that there
that
will be
actually
one
resembles the
Wii Motion
original
Plus
concept for
accessory
for the
and extended
connector
jacket
between
packaged
the
with
Wii
every
Remote and
Wii
Nunchuck
Sports
back when
resort.
it was in its prototype
And of
phase at
course,
E3.
others will
No,
be
at a
sold
game
separately.
at Tokyo
What
Game
have you
Show
got?
2005.
I have got probably
That's how the connector
cutest
for the
game
nunchuck
that you
looked.
have
There was that
ever
huge
seen.
block at the bottom.
Meet my little puppy here, Peach, and we are going to play Disc Dog together.
All right, now before you do anything, Cammy, I think
Now,
what we need
notice
to
they're
do
calling
is
it
let
Disc
everybody
Dog,
understand
not
here
Frisbee Dog.
what Wii
For the
Motion Plus is
final
all about.
version of this
Now,
game,
friends
when the
raising like
retail
me,
version
you
came out,
probably remember
they
the very
did
first time you got
license
your hands
from
on the Wii
Whammo
Remote.
Toys
And
the
that, to me,
the
was a
Frisbee
magical
licensing.
moment. And I want you all to prepare yourselves to experience that same thrill again here at E3 this year. Now, you'll notice...
Now, of all the
as
people
Cammy
we've
is
seen year after year at
suddenly
E3,
rotating her wrist,
I'd say that
that
Bill
precise
Trinan is the one
action
we've
is being
watched
reflected
age the
on
most.
screen in real time at
He
the
like
exact
is
angles that she
going back
was
from
in.
2003. We
And
can
as she
see how
moves her
visibly
hand in
older
front
he
of her
is.
face, it knows exactly where her hand is. That's what Wii Motion Plus
I
does.
just remember having
Okay,
such mixed
Cammy,
feelings about this
you
because
don't
I'm
even
looking
have
at
to
this. I'm
press
like,
the button.
yay! This is what I
Swing your arm
imagined.
to throw
Like
the disc.
six,
Okay, Peach, you ready?
We'll see how your puppy
Okay, let's go,
responds.
girl.
like 2. This is what I imagined 2 years ago. Yay!
I was never very good at this.
Like, how could I not be sardonic over this? Almost.
Oh, go, go. Oh, no. Oh, okay.
Now remember, Cammy, you want to
See,
pay
it's so
attention to that
precise
tilt when
that
you're
it's
throwing.
picking up my bad wrist action. Okay, let's try this again.
Is that the good
Okay.
wrist or the broken wrist?
Well,
Oh my gosh, Reggie.
unfortunately, it was the good one. Okay. Oh, go, girl, go! Yes!
Very nice.
You know, like, Cammy, like, she's not that
Reggie,
bad. It's just that she's
You
no
gotta admit,
Reggie.
Is that the most adorable game you've ever seen?
You know, it's kind of cute. It's kind of okay.
I would
I want to
like.
show the group something that's a little bit more my speed.
Oh, I never actually played this version
Now,
of
this-
Wii
this is
Sports.
what I'm
I know there
talking
was an enhanced,
Look at this.
like, was it either this or was it the one on Wii U that had a Wii Motion Plus version of Wii Bowling? I was fascinated by that because with Wii, the
like
base,
that throttle,
the
don't you,
traditional
Reggie?
Wii Bowling, with that launch with the Wii, you had to, when you bowled, you had to hold the B button and release it at a certain moment, and that. Like, of all the older
don't
family
miss
members that I've had play Wii Sports, my dear Nana was never able to get that
Watch out for
timing
the
right.
roller.
And with Wii Motion Plus, you no
Well, I
longer
guess
have to
you're
hold
right,
the
Reggie. That
trigger
really is more your
with that
speed.
version of bowling.
You know,
I
guys
love
like
that.
power stuff, you know?
Oh, you guys.
My friend left
like the
his
power.
rubber
I
Wiimote
think
protector
I'm
at mine
like
and
being
dropped by
on a,
later.
and
wasn't in, so I gave it to his mom. You should have seen her face.
A lot more than throwing discs to a
You
dog.
guys are all the same.
Well, obviously we've got a little dispute
Oh,
here
like,
that needs some settling. And I think there's
Like,
no better way to do that
your
than
friend's
with a
mom
little
might have thought it was
old-fashioned
something
sword
else,
dueling.
maybe.
What do you say?
Hey, I'm
Let's
up
go
for
for
it.
it.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
I'll show you what you'll be doing, okay?
So this swordplay demo
Alright, we'll
that
get,
for
started
this was
here.
actually the starting point
Now,
from
you
when they
hold the,
started
you
working
hold the remote
on
with both hands,
Zelda
right?
Skyward
Of
Sword.
course, you can chop vertically.
Because they apparently were having trouble with deciding what the next
chop
Zelda should be
horizontally.
until they
You can chop it
worked on this
any angle you want.
Wii Motion Plus swordplay demo.
And in fact, you can block.
I never bothered using the rubber
that
bumper
touches in
until
real time, and
until I
it's
got the
really
Wii
good.
Motion Plus. So
You
yeah,
can sharpen the pencil as well.
you know it's
Okay.
funny because I was so
This looks more my
I
speed,
never didn't
too,
like.
I think.
So ready. How
And it's
often
funny,
do you get to do
I
this with
was
your
so
boss?
fascinated by what
wait a
one-to-one
minute,
swordplay could be
I
like for
understand.
Zelda,
You're
and then when I
right.
got Skyward Sword, I didn't like it that much. No, I liked the swordplay itself, but
Ready, Cammy?
I feel
I
like
am
Skyward
so
Sword
ready.
went too far, where they forced
That's where the
motion
true
control into
master
all
is.
kinds of things that did not need it. All we wanted to do was use Link's Sword and Shield with the Wii Remote, Wii Motion Plus, and Nunchuck, and they made everything based around motion control, and I did not like it, and I lost interest in it.
That's why they call me the Reginator.
Yeah, I always used the wrist strap,
Now, if I just
but
had both wrists
it wasn't until I got the
working,
Motion
wanna
Plus
go
that I
again?
did use the little
go
bumper thing that came with it.
You want a little more?
Bring it on, baby.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm sure it's much better with the Joy-Con doing Zelda Skyward Sword, but I don't know if I feel like. Well, first off, I know what Skyward Sword entails, and I don't like the story and the way they structured the game that much. So I'd love to be able to play it using a traditional gamepad, but it's like, I don't like the game in general that much, in terms of like what they did with the story and how they structured it. There's so many cool things in it though, so it really hurts saying that.
If you stop to consider a summer vacation, other activities come to mind, and several of them will appear in Wii Sports Resort.
I just want to check on, make sure I'm not dropping frames. It's been a while since I checked.
Much broader opportunity. It's clear that many developers specializing in virtually every game genre.
All right, we're not dropping any frames. I'll talk a bit about my thoughts on Skyward Sword. When it was one of your faves, I'm glad you were able to enjoy it. I'm really thrilled you were able to enjoy it, because I was upset that I'm like, I know this is a good game. I'm just upset that I don't like it. 100%ed it without a guide.
New standard in one-to-one motion control.
Yeah, like I know Skyward Sword's a great, and I'm really frustrated. Like if Wii Motion Plus and Skyward Sword had been out within, alongside the Wii, I feel like the Wii would have been a better console, because there are so many experiences that I think a lot of hardcore traditional gamers were interested in trying using motion control, but the limits of the Wii, the standard Wii remote, really limited what you could do with motion control in a lot of traditional games, and it lends itself better to those more casual experiences.
That you'll all be able to play with your current Wii remotes. It's safe.
Yeah, I don't mind the motion controls, like in terms of the swordplay. Like I just feel like they overdid the motion controls with things that didn't need it, and then conceptually. Oh, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? Here it comes. I remember thinking, is this going to be Zelda? What are we about to see? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Aside from the entirety of Konami 2010, I do believe this is probably one of the worst E3 moments of all time. This demo right here. He's just... It doesn't even feel like he's playing... It's just banging on these MIDI instruments. Ugh. There was a period of time for several years where if you typed in glorified noisemaker into Google, Wii Music would be one of the first results. It's not even, oh my god, he's just banging on it. There's no, it's so, Miyamoto, they put AAA effort into this, that's the thing. And this happened because in E3 2007, so much mainstream gaming media specifically were asking Nintendo people about what happened to Wii Music, why is it at E3? So Nintendo got overconfident. They thought this was going to be used in, like, they tried to push this as an educational tool for music classes and stuff, and it really is just a glorified noisemaker. Oh. I mean, they made this look so cool at E3 2006. This was the first game Nintendo showed on Wii at 2006. People were genuinely interested in this concept. And Guitar Hero is taking over the world at this point. Oh boy. And I don't even know if Ravi Drums over there is actually playing the drums in this, because in 2006, Miyamoto was just dancing and going crazy with the Wii remote, and it's not even playing the game. He's just jamming out, dancing with the Wii remote, just some unrelated music that's not part of the gameplay that they were showing.
This year, I would like to introduce you to Wii Music.
He's so proud of it too. Oh, I feel bad for them.
このゲームはね、Wii の企画を最初立ち上げたときに、Wii Sports、それから Wii Play、Wii Fit と同時に計画。
Me, I'm like, okay, last year their closeout game was Wii Sport, was Wii Music. I mean, it was Wii Fit, fine. I want a Zelda or something this year, right? And
リビングでこう家族みんなが
And the thing is, hold on. I want to go back a bit.
When we were first
Look at this right here. Wii Music, Wii Sports, Wii Play, Wii Fit, and to so many people, they imagined the Wii as being flooded with these Mii games, and all they really had was Wii Sports, Wii Music, Wii Play, Wii Fit, Wii Sports Resort, and that's like 5. Wii Party, that's 6. There were 6 of these games on Wii, but the way Nintendo handled their messaging gave so many people the impression that Wii was just nothing but these Mii games, when aside from this, they had their full roster of their traditional games aside from F-Zero and Star Fox. It doesn't matter if Nintendo didn't abandon the hardcore gamer, they allowed them to feel that they were abandoned, and they have to be held accountable for that.
But Wii Music is a slightly different play experience than you've seen with past music games.
Yeah, and that it's literally not a game, pretty much.
Now,
most music games typically require you to press buttons with precise timing, matching symbols on screen to earn points and compete for the strongest performance.
Wii Music では楽器を弾けない人とか楽譜が読めない人が音楽を演奏する楽しみを味わってもらえるように作りました。
But we've designed Wii Music to allow everyone, including people who can't read music and people who can't play real instruments, to experience the joy of performing music.
You know what Wii Music is like? Wii Music can be said to be like the... If you remember, there's a toy, and I think there's commercials for it in some of these retro commercials that I was playing during my midstream break. He's holding the controllers that he's going to pass out to the other people that are going to come out on stage. That's why, I think that's why he's holding all those different, all that different equipment.
Hold the Wii remote and move your hands and your body like you would when playing a real instrument.
So, like, there's a toy in the early 90s called the Yo-Yo Ball, and I even date back to the 80s, but I remember the commercials from the 90s. And like, hey, it's the Yo-Yo Ball, and what the Yo-Yo Ball basically was a yo-yo that plays with itself for you. You have like a semi-automatic spring-loaded yo-yo on a string that just goes up, and you just jerk your wrist and just like plays with itself for you pretty much. And you have all the satisfaction of holding a yo-yo and holding your arm out, with none of the satisfaction of actually operating the yo-yo, even just doing it up and down or doing the sleeper. It was
so in this way, I don't have to worry
like
about what do I
Wii
do
Music is like Yo-Yo Ball, but for instruments. Like a little kid, I'd rather, as a kid, play with an actual toy instrument.
For those of you who are familiar, this song might sound a little bit familiar. It's from an F-Zero game.
This is the last mention on stage by Nintendo of F-Zero on an E3 stage to this day.
In Wii Music, you're going to be able to play over 50 different instruments just by moving your body. So, for example, the piano.
It's just cacophonous noise.
And the violin's a slightly more unique instrument. You hold the strings with your left hand, press the buttons to sound the notes. And the bigness of the motion of your right hand adjusts the volume of those notes.
Actually, we're going to watch this. Me and my friend watched this recently. There was a Smothers Brothers yo-yo video from the late 80s that I had as a kid in the 90s.
Of course, guitar, you play like you would a real guitar.
And it's a video that's just like the Smothers Brothers teaching you how to do yo-yo tricks. But no, they didn't just make a video on how to do yo-yo tricks. There's actual lore in the video about this man who everyone hated him, and he met this mysterious person called the Master of Yo, and all this stuff. And they actually made lore for this yo-yo instructional video. And it's an ancient video from the 80s that no one cares about I mean, it's been on YouTube for like over a decade. And I'm sure, and it's one of those videos I'm sure we'll have no problem watching on Twitch. All my other copyright abandoned stuff that I watch from time to time. So, pick up the controller again.
And of course, behind me here, we have a professional drummer who's been performing for us this morning. His name is Ravi Drums.
And this guy was like the target of a lot of the memes in particular, just because of the way he looks, the way he got real into banging with the imaginary drums.
What he's playing is a separate mode that uses the Wii balance board to activate the drum pedals, creating a complete drum simulator.
Like this, that's decent. But what he was doing before, it does not make it look like he knows the first thing about playing the drums.
And this mode
it made him look like a random clown just messing around with these
even you can
fake controllers.
in just a few weeks.
でラビさん昨日練習しただけでも随分とこう快適に弾きこなしてますけどね。
In fact, Ravi only started practicing just yesterday, and as you can see, he's already.
Actually, I'm going to add something to the playlist. I'm going to add 2 things to the playlist, actually.
さて、覚えておられる方もあると思いますけども、
I'm going to do this during this,
オーケストラの
actually.
指揮をしました。
I'm sure some here in the audience this morning remember, but 2 years ago on this stage, I conducted an orchestra.
Yes, and that went very well compared to
インターネット
this.
ではこう下手とか言われたんですけどね。
Many of you on the internet said I was pretty bad.
I don't remember that.
でこのオーケストラのゲームもね、その他にこうハンドベルのゲームとか、それから音を当てるゲームとかいろんなゲームと一緒にこの Wii Music の中に入っています。
So we've included in Wii Music both this orchestra game and some other modes like a handbell choir and some note matching games as well.
だからさっき演奏を評価するゲームじゃないって言ったんですけども、逆にミュージックビデオが作れるんですね。
And while I said earlier, Wii Music isn't a game that's going to evaluate your performance.
Okay.
What it will do
It's
is record
non-judgmental
videos of your
zone.
performances.
でこのモードではなんか一人でこう何役もこなした自分のミュージックビデオを作ることもできます。
And in fact, one player can play and record each individual part in a song and create their own unique music video.
じゃあそれでね、みんなで今日は演奏してみたいと思うんですけどね。
But since we have everyone here this morning,
All right.
I thought it might be nice if we played a
I'm going
song
to
for
add
you.
this.
6人の編成バンドなんですけど、4人で演奏ができます。
Now the bands have 6 different parts, but you play with up to 4 players simultaneously.
それから今日は特別にダビーさんのドラムも入ってもらいましょう。
And for our special presentation this morning, Ravi will join us on the drums.
じゃあジャムの紹介をしてください。
Joining in the band will be Nintendo of America's Vice President of Corporate Affairs, Ms. Denise Kegler, on the marimba.
Okay, and I'm just pulling up this for...
Along with our all-star treehouse horn section. Everybody ready?
ですか。あ、僕は何にしようかな。僕はカウベルしか残ってないです。
Looks like all that's left for me is the cowbell.
じゃあ行きますね。
All right. Bring the house down, guys.
Oh man, here we go, here we go. Okay. It's like a web quality MIDI. I'm just testing. I just want to look at this real quick. No, we're not. This is so bad. Oh my gosh. I can't find the footage anymore. I can't find it. Yeah, there's footage someone took. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and that's now we're gonna play how that was actually supposed to sound. Oh my gosh. So we just survived that, everybody.
What we've tried to do today, as Mr. Iwata said, is to look forward to a place where
We're almost
gamers
at the
are
end
more
here.
engaged, more enriched, and even more enthused in their experiences.
More enthused.
Consider
Yes,
the
Drunken White
possibilities.
would recommend against
Snowboarding
using
on
that.
the Wii balance board.
Enthused.
Yes, without injuring yourself. Using We Speak to talk live worldwide with friends as they arrive electronically in your Animal Crossing. Even using the new Wii Motion Plus as a sword to help your boss feel better about himself. There's no question that games can and will engage us in new and more compelling ways. And there is only one place where high-profile games like Guitar Hero, Star Wars,
I don't know if anything
Rayman,
aside from
Grand
Animal
Theft
Crossing
Auto,
even used
Call
that
of Duty,
thing.
and Sport
I mean, and now it's
can be
completely
found
useless because all the
right
Wii Online stuff
alongside
is
unique
deactivated anyway.
franchises like Pokemon, Animal Crossing.
She says
and
Pokemon
now
like a soccer
Wii
mom.
Sports
She says
Resort and
Pokemon.
Wii
She says it like a soccer mom. Pokemon. At least she says
Nintendo
Pokemon and
simply
not
brings
Pokemon.
More smiles to more faces.
To conclude, let's be honest. From the minute that DS launched, almost from the moment that we went on sale, we've all heard the same word, fad. Well, that was never a fact, even if it was a real hope for some people.
And it
I'm
was.
here today to tell you that fad is no longer operable. It's inevitable when the paradigm shifts, imitation is just around the corner.
Yeah, and I think within a
Consequently,
year we got
only
the
way to preserve your advantage is to create
what,
new
PlayStation
advantages.
Move.
If you positively disrupted an entertainment industry so well that both current and new consumers all say,
Well, I've been streaming. I've been on camera
I
for
like
8
that.
hours. I've been streaming for 8 hours,
And the
not
next
counting that
challenge
15-minute.
is to disrupt your own
Yeah, 8
thinking.
hours, 38 minutes, not counting the
The fact
15-minute
is
break.
that Mr. Iwata and Mr. Miyamoto
This is
have
the longest
built a
stream I've done
company
since my
in
3DS
perpetual
10-year
pursuit
anniversary stream.
of that one thing, the next advantage.
Next stream's going to be more like
Not
6
just
hours
the
flat.
evolution
But we have a
in
couple
look,
more minutes after
but
this.
the revolution in feel. This week, you'll feel the next steps.
Why is the
as Nintendo
audio change?
builds the next advantage to keep you
Okay.
smiling. Thanks for your attention.
Okay, I just want to go back, go forward,
Qué buena casa de
and now, wait a second.
Look at me. Vamos. Here I am.
Wait a second. That's not what was supposed to happen. Okay, I'm just going to have to add this manually, huh? We have one more video, like a 3... Oh, it's 11 years now. We're done with 10 years 3DS anniversary. It's been 11 years now. Hold on. We have something. We have the Mega 64 skit making fun of this press conference. And I want to close out the stream with that. Hold on. Where is... Okay, we're going to go interact. No, we don't need to interact. We need to properties. I'm just going to dump that right in there. There we go. You have to... There we go.
Thank you all for coming out today. You may remember our keynote at last E3. We announced 2 exciting new IPs, Wii Music and the peripheral Wii Speak. Both of these items brought continued success to Nintendo and solidified our stance on the new Mario and Zelda games, which was, why fucking bother? This year, we plan to continue Nintendo's success by combining both of those IPs, thus solidifying Nintendo as the most annoying console of all time. But first, let's take a look at each one of those items individually. First, Wii Music, the game that outsold Rock Band and Guitar Hero, despite being a glorified noisemaker. Here's 3 guys playing instruments. At least, that's what they think. They're actually just dancing like with controllers. But they wouldn't know that. So absorbing is the world of Wii Music. Now we have Wii Speak. A peripheral that allowed these two guys to shit talk every single person that signed onto Animal Crossing last holiday season.
You should die. That's I'm you bitch.
No longer forcing gamers to
That
wait
did
for
not-
siblings to enter the room.
Yeah,
to call
it
them
wasn't
gay.
quite like that,
This
but-
unforeseen shit-talking phenomenon allowed this peripheral to reach a Wii annoyance level of 9. Now, once again, Wii Music, Wii Speak.
Man, you got big boobs, and if you're a girl, you got little boobs.
How could we combine two moderately aggravating games into one annoying-ass thing? We present to you We Annoy. What was once two lousy ideas for games
Epilepsy
is now
warning,
combined
potentially.
into one colossal family room fuck-up.
I hate everything that you do, and I think that you are such a fucking bitch. True, you suck so much. I hate you. Shit out your ass.
And now, as a special treat to you E3 attendees, some chick from our marketing department who won't stop talking about her snowboarding injury.
Oh, it did break in 2 places, and I had stitches. Well, wait, let me just back up a little bit and tell you that
from my
I did have to
enjoy
have
it and
surgery
throw it back
on
up
my wrist,
because you threw up a lot. You've got a lot of mental disorders.
Yeah, I think that might genuinely be a health hazard if you are photosensitive.
How you suck so fat. You're
There was this guy that was.
You are
Okay.
really gay.
All right, that's not something I can. That's not a statement I endorse. That sort of. Yep. So tomorrow will not be E3 2021. All I'll say was this was before that. This was well before that. So tomorrow I'll be back at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be doing E3 2012. No, the E3 2009 through 2014. So I will see you tomorrow. I'm going to send you over to Pete, who's doing his...